The Orlando Magic lament their lack of energy, and that's kind of a problem because that's kind of who they are. Why the deficits have just gotten too big, and the star factor, the Magic are getting back today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 10th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic lament a poor start and a lack of energy. Why that says something much deeper about the Orlando Magic and what they're missing and what they're about to get back. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Every day, you can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter. The one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. We can't pretend the Orlando Magic are playing with a full deck right now. Like, we can't. I talk about this unendingly, that the margin for error is small. That while the Magic are capable of winning games and capable of sustaining and playing well with all that they are missing, it does not take much for them to fall behind. We've seen it time and time again. While this Magic team has a lot of comebacks under their belt, that's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable way to play. You're going to have to win games from the front. You're going to have to stay in games. You're going to have to find energy. And that's the one thing, for the most part, we never thought we'd have to worry about. Like, why would the Magic need to worry about energy? They got Jalen Suggs, who runs around like a maniac. They've got Mo Wagner, who is just constantly chirping and barking. This is a team that runs on vibes, for crying out loud. But of course, those two players I just mentioned, Jalen Suggs, currently out with a low back strain, as confirmed by an MRI, as the Magic announced on Thursday. And Mo Wagner, of course, out for the year with a torn ACL. Jalen Suggs, obviously out, is a big piece of this team and has carried this team for the last month. And so the Magic are already at a deficit. The two guys who give them the most energy, that give them the most emotion, are out. On top of that, their two stars, their two kind of engines that keep the thing running, are out. And so while the Magic have been so good and really better than expected, they're at a deficit. They enter the game needing to outwork their opponent, needing to be better and more energetic than their opponent. They can't afford to let up. They can't afford to be lax. That's not going to get the job done. And so the Magic lamented in this loss Thursday to the Minnesota Timberwolves a lack of energy. They lamented that they didn't come out ready to play, that Minnesota beat them to spots and frankly looked comfortable. In fact, the 29 points Minnesota scored in the first quarter were the most points that they scored in any quarter of the game. The 18 points the Magic scored were the fewest the Magic scored. I don't want to sit here and say that the Magic were bad all game long. The game was very similar to the Utah game. Orlando kind of fell behind and couldn't find it. I think I don't know how many times during Sunday's game I said the Magic just didn't have it. The Magic didn't have it again. And that is partially to be expected with all the Magic are missing, that some nights it's just not going to be there for them. And now we're starting to see increasingly that happens more often. The Magic had it in pockets. They rallied, they tied the game at 37, but then they gave up a 15-2 run to end the quarter, to trail by 13. And they never really challenged in the second half. Orlando fought. It wasn't a lack of effort. It was just when things got bad, they got bad. When things got bad, the mistakes piled up. A missed shot turned into a foul, which turned into a free throw, which turned into a missed rotation, which turned into a technical foul by the fourth quarter. Magic, I believe, lead the league in technical fouls this year. The Magic let their offense affect their defense again. And yeah, like they missed open looks that they can't do much about. Like they got to make open shots. And especially now with everything that they don't have. It sounds like a broken record, but now we've had 2 out of the last 3 games where the Magic just didn't look like they were outworking their opponent. And again, that's not to question their effort that they're not playing 100%, but they can't afford to even be the perception of being outworked right now. They've got to be so frenetic. They've got to be so intense. They don't have the margin for error to let up for a moment. And when they make shots, yeah, they'll take advantage of it. But when they're not making shots, they've got to find a way. And that's the difference. The third quarter is a great example of this. Well, I think the Magic focused a lot on the first quarter and played from behind. And look, this team is going to struggle playing from behind. The third quarter says a lot too. The Timberwolves shot 6 for 23 in the third quarter. Magic played excellent defense. But they went to the line 12 times. They were 11 for 12 from the foul line. They made up all those misses at the foul line, where Orlando is still shooting 9 for 24, which is 37.5%, 3 for 12 from 3. They're not getting to the line nearly as much. Now, this is a point of contention for the Magic. They believe that the Wolves are allowed to be more physical than they were, and to some extent, they might be right. But to some extent, they're not. The Magic just weren't drawing fouls. They weren't putting Minnesota's defense in compromising positions where they were late. The Magic were late. Their defense had its moments. Again, don't get me wrong. But this is the energy we're talking about. It's about precision. It's about execution. And the Magic lamented again that while they love to be physical, they love to dish it out, sometimes they can't take it. Or right now, they can't take it and they get frustrated. And you don't play well when you play frustrated. Again, we have seen this now, at least in the Utah game. We've seen this now happen a few times where the Magic get flustered, where the Magic miss shots, snowball into something else, and put them in this deficit. Well, we're going to talk about Paolo Banchero's return coming up here in a minute and why it's so important and what this game shows us about why it's so important. So I don't want to sit here and say that this is how it's always going to be. The Magic are going to come out Friday night against Milwaukee with a lot more energy. Paolo being back is going to change the game. And perhaps, maybe the fact that Paolo was practicing with the team and held out of this game because of the back-to-back, maybe that's what deflated them a little bit. Who knows? But the Magic are playing at a deficit. We've said this a million times. And in this game, they could not allow themselves to be outworked. If Julius Randle makes tough shots over Caleb Houston, so be it. If Anthony Edwards makes tough shots, as long as he's working hard for them, so be it. He got too comfortable early, and while he didn't make shots the rest of the game, he made his statement at the big moments. Whether it was in the first quarter, whether it was with that big dunk in the third. And that is the next piece of this. Because while the Magic were hunting for energy, Minnesota was too. The difference was they had someone who could create energy for them. Let's talk about the star factor and what the Magic are getting back in Paolo Banchero coming up here in just a moment. But first, Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends Intuit TurboTax. Are you tired of the endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that is a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. Whether you've got one form or 20, TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Here's the disclaimer. Only available TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. By this point, as I'm recording this, you've probably seen the play. One of the most, I wouldn't call it the decisive play of the game because I think the 15-2 run to end the second quarter was the decisive play, and that started with an Anthony Edwards 3 and then a Dante DiVincenzo 3. I think that was ultimately decisive in this game. The Magic never really threatened after that. But one of the most consequential plays, and the play we're going to see highlighted over and over again, was this Anthony Edwards dunk in the third quarter. Trevelin Queen's guarding Anthony Edwards. He has trouble getting around the screen. Jonathan Isaac's caught on the high side of the screen. Edwards has a free lane to the basket, and everybody could see what was happening before it happened. Even Anthony Black, didn't get a chance to ask him after the game. I don't think I ever will. Even Anthony Black probably knew what was about to happen, but he's the low man. It is his responsibility. He had to slide over. He was late. He got caught. And I think even he just had to kind of laugh it out, even as Ant tried to make it a thing. It's like, yeah, you got me. So what? Ant also brushed it off after the game saying, it's not really that impressive. I dunked over a point guard. Dude, 6'7", my man. Neither here nor there. Anthony Edwards had an okay game. Listen to our friends at Locked On Wolves to get the full breakdown. I'm sure they're very happy with this win because there's a lot of things the Wolves didn't do well or don't typically do well that still allowed them to win this game comfortably. Anthony Edwards finished with 21 points, 7 assists, 5 for 19 shooting, 4 for 11 from 3, and 7 for 9 from the foul line. It's the 5 for 19 shooting I want to highlight. After the hot start to the game, the Magic really bottled him up. They put him in tight spaces. They played Magic defense on him and prevented him from really taking over the game. The only thing that got them was fouling and this dunk. But that's kind of exactly what the Magic are missing. The energy in the game turned. Orlando was down by 7, I believe, at the time when Edwards had the dunk, made it a 10-point game, and he had never really left that range. It stayed around 10 until the Wolves really blew it open in the fourth quarter. The Magic don't have a player who can make that play. And look, the Magic were frustrated. They weren't getting the whistle and frustrated about all those things, but this is what a star does. Even on a night where they're not shooting the ball well, when they're shooting 5 for 19, when they're surrounded, they make plays for others. They create the energy for the rest of the team. Who's doing that on the Magic right now? Cole Anthony does a good job getting in the paint and creating some tension offensively, but he is as likely to miss as anyone else, and you could see the misses written on his face. Jonathan Isaac will make some nice defensive plays. Goga Bitadze makes some nice defensive plays, but they're not going to carry the team through offensively. Orlando has dropped, I believe, 8th in the league in free throw rate. This is a team that, because they don't shoot the ball well, because they attack downhill so much, they rely on getting the foul line. And so the fact that they only got 19 free throws on 87 attempts, 19 free throws on 87 field goal attempts is a 21.8% free throw rate. That is terrible. And so, yeah, maybe we could complain about the officiating. I'm not going to sit here and say the officiating was perfect. I think they called a tighter whistle for the Magic than they called for the Wolves. I will agree with that. But the Magic still have to find a way to generate offense. Even when they're not hitting shots, they have to generate offense. This has honestly been the most transformational thing that has come from Paolo Banchero. Since Dwight Howard left in 2012, Orlando was one of the worst teams at getting to the line in the entire league. Nikola Vucevic was a finesse player. Evan Fournier couldn't force his way to the line. Victor Oladipo couldn't figure out how to get foul calls consistently. The Magic just didn't have guys who could draw and create fouls and create contact. The moment Paolo Banchero stepped onto the floor for the Orlando Magic, the Magic became a top 5 team in the league in free throw rate. They will still finish in the league in the top 5 in free throw rate, just because Paolo is back. And Franz has gotten a lot better at getting to the foul line. Mo Wagner is amazing at getting to the foul line. The Magic need that supplement. They cannot afford not to get to the paint, to get to the foul line and get those points. That is like the possession game we talk about. Limiting turnovers, getting extra shots through offensive rebounds, the 3-point difference, the free throw difference. Getting to the foul line is vital to this team. And that's what stars do. Stars get free throws. When they don't have it, they duck their head in, force the defense to react to them, force the defense to foul them, get to the line to find their rhythm. That's what stars do. You could look at all of them. That's what they all do. That's what Anthony Edwards did in that third quarter. That's what the Timberwolves were able to do and feed off of him to do in that third quarter. The Magic don't have a player that can do that. Cole Anthony's great at getting into the paint, but he ain't great at drawing fouls. Just too many giants out there. He's not crafty enough to work around. Tristan da Silva's not a driver. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is taking more shots, but he's not a driver. Caleb Houston certainly is not a driver, although he did have a nice drive for a layup that he missed and should have been his first dunk of his career. I want that to happen. I was distraught that he didn't get that. Anthony Black is slowly becoming a better driver, but he's not there yet. The Magic don't have guys who get downhill into the basket right now. That's what Paolo and Franz do. That's what Jalen Suggs does to some extent. That's what Mo Wagner does. And so this is going to be the biggest benefit when Paolo's back. And Paolo is expected to play Friday. He's expected to be back on Friday against Milwaukee. This was a back-to-back situation. Not surprised. My understanding was this was how the Magic wanted to play. The Magic need their star back. Again, I'm not saying anything crazy. I asked Jonathan Isaac after the game whether getting Paolo Banchero is going to help with this team's energy deficit. And he kind of started smiling as he was looking down, started smiling and saying yeah, I think he's going to help a little bit. This is what the Magic need. They need what Paolo's so good at. When nothing is working, when the Magic need points, they need something to calm them down. They need someone who can duck their head in, get to the basket, get to the foul line, and guarantee some points. Nothing has been easy for the Magic for the last month. We know that. We watch it. We see it. The margin for error is very small, and just to be competitive at times. And again, the Magic have done a great job being competitive and giving themselves a chance to win. But they need a guy like Paolo. Unfortunately, Paolo is coming back very, very soon. Let's run through the box score, talk a little bit about what we saw from the Orlando Magic in this game. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happens. It hasn't happened to me, but I sometimes see something in my credit card statement. I'm like, what is that? Well, Rocket Money finds it. They track it all down. And it's like really having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place. whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has more than 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. We all sign up for these random things, and sometimes we forget about them, and then they show up on our credit card bill every single month, and you wonder what it is. I've used and canceled services I wasn't using anymore. I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Let's roll through the final box score, talk a little bit about individual performances as the Orlando Magic fall to the Minnesota Timberwolves 104-89. Again, a game very similar to Sunday's game against Utah, just very similar vibes. It just the building felt off a little bit. Maybe there was some disappointment that Paolo Banchero was not playing. He was listed as questionable all day. Essentially, we talked to him Thursday morning, essentially that he was back, watched him warm up and all that. He didn't warm up, but do his shooting slot, his pregame shooting slot. He was always sitting out this game to play in Friday's game. So Friday, everything is pointing toward him being officially back on Friday, which is obviously fantastic news. Having said that, the Magic just never felt in it. Again, they tied the game at 37 with about 4.5 minutes left in the second quarter, and then gave up a 15-3 run. The offense just came in spurts. It was either all or nothing. It was either working perfectly or just a complete mess of the team. Maybe passing up some open looks, missing shots, missing open shots, or turning the ball. Again, Orlando's gonna have a hard time winning when they turn the ball over this much. 16 turnovers to 16 points. Didn't kill them, but again, just with so few shot opportunities, such little consistency, it just hurts them. And Orlando only forced 10 turnovers for 11 points. Orlando didn't even force the kind of turnovers that they usually get to feed their offense. Magic with just 8 fast break points. Again, 12 second chance points. Minnesota had 20, 42 points in the paint to Minnesota's 40. So again, just missing some opportunities to add to their total. Having said that, there were a lot of games and individuals that I liked in this one. Let me start with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I wrote a little bit about him on my Patreon page. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at 13 points, 5 for 7 shooting, 3 for 4 from 3. I thought he played an excellent offensive game. If he plays like that when Paolo's back, the Magic are going to be getting exactly what they want from him. Made some big threes, was aggressive when the closeouts came, attacking off the dribble, hitting pull-ups, maybe passed up 1 or 2 shots he knows he needs to take. But if this is the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope we're getting, it's going to be fine. Now, Kenny did admit that he was a little lax on Anthony Edwards early in the game, let him get into a rhythm. But after that, I thought his defense was fine. So a lot to like from Kenny. He's had a really nice run of play, except for the Utah game. He's starting to shoot the ball a lot better over the last week and a half. He promised to be better in January. He's been better in January. Caleb Houston, a really nice game as well. 14 points, 4 for 6 shooting from 3. Loved his effort. Just got 2 spots, made shots. Like, that's all you want from him. He had a really, really tough defensive assignment. He was guarding Julius Randle. Julius Randle had 23 points on 8 for 16 shooting, added 10 rebounds. Not a matchup that favors Caleb Houston. Again, just a little too big. I thought he did his best. I thought he battled, but Randle made some tough shots. Got to the basket, just knew how to outwork Caleb Houston, who is not a traditional post player. This is a game where maybe it would have been better to have Jonathan Isaac start or play Wendell Carter alongside Goga Batadze just to match up. Certainly if you have Paolo Banchero, that's not an issue, but that's kind of where this game landed for Caleb Houston. So good offensive game, bad defensive game. That's going to be a little bit of a theme here. Let's give Jett Howard some love. We talked a little bit about him yesterday. 10 points, 4 for 11 shooting, 2 for 9 from 3, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. So doing a little bit more, doing a little bit of everything. The shot was not there this time, but the fact that he was making plays off the bounce, the fact that he was active on the glass, he's continued to expand his game. You can see how comfortable he is. I do hope he still gets opportunity, even when Paolo's back, but we will see what that decision is. Jett's been doing a lot of what the Magic have asked of him. of late, starting to look a little bit more comfortable, starting to compete a little bit more on defense. I do like the steps that he has taken. I think he's gotten a lot better, but again, just still trying to put it all together. And I think even he knows that, but he's made steps. I think that's positive. Okay. Tristan da Silva, after we all sung his praises for a little while, hitting the rookie wall a little bit. 6 points, 2 for 9, shooting over 5 from 3. Again, he's had these up and down games. He's had games where he looks unstoppable, like one of the next best Magic decision makers. And he's had games where he disappears. This was the game where he disappeared. And that's just kind of life as a rookie. You're not consistent yet. Not ideal for where the Magic are at, but that's the reality for them. The Magic should just keep getting da Silva shots, keep getting him looks, and hope that things start to turn around. And he'll have a difficult challenge ahead of him on Friday against the Bucks. He might get the call on Giannis, defending Giannis' team effort. Maybe the Magic go with Jonathan Isaac in the starting lineup. I don't think they will, but we'll see what they do there. Jonathan Isaac, 4.7 rebounds. His rebounding's gotten a lot better. We'll talk more about JI here in the very near future, but his rebounding has taken a major step this year. I've been really impressed with it. Obviously, the shot's not there, and that's disappointing. And defensively, he's looked to step off defensively. That's just in general. Even he acknowledges that. So there's a lot, I think, for JI to try and figure out here. Cole Anthony had 12 points, 5 for 13 shooting, over 3 from 3. This game felt very reminiscent, and this whole stretch has felt very reminiscent of those early rebuild days when Cole Anthony was the lead guy. A lot of him trying to drive and create and score over taller players to varying degrees of effectiveness. He's worse at it now, or he's not performing as well at it now than he did 2-3 years ago or 3-4 years ago. But he still can get into the paint, and the Magic need that right now. I get why he is starting, even though he gives something up defensively, even though he can struggle in some areas. He's starting because he can get downhill, create some tension in the defense. Now, whether he can make the pass or the shot, that's another question. Made some nice passes in this game. I'm not going to put him down for that, but Cole Anthony is still Cole Anthony in every good way and bad way, to be perfectly honest. So a rough game percentage-wise from him, but the Magic are just trying to get whatever they can. Goga Bitadze added 15 points, 8 rebounds. Don't have a lot to say about him. A lot of putbacks. Did a good job battling Rudy Gobert. Gave up a lob early, and then the rest of the game was tied to Gobert, made it very tough to lob to him, forced a couple turnovers off of lobs. So some good work from Goga Bitadze. The Orlando Magic shoot 37.9% from floor. It's just going to be hard to win at that percentage. 10 for 40 from 3, 13 for 19 from the foul, and they have 13 offensive rebounds, again, for 12 second chance points, 5 for 16 on second chance points. The Wolves shoot 40%. Again, Orlando will tell you that they did not defend well or that their defense slipped in key areas, and I'm not going to disagree with that. It wasn't perfect, but this Magic team, again, defended at a very high level, gave themselves a chance to win. Looking at the defensive offensive rating, let me pull that up real fast. Looking at the Magic's defensive rating in this game, so 104 points, 104 points allowed raw total. The Wolves had a 113 offensive rating. So not the best defensive effort. The numbers back up it wasn't the best defensive effort for the Magic. But again, you're giving up 104 points to give yourself a chance to win. Like, honestly, like that, you should be able to score 104 points in the NBA. It comes down to the Magic's inability to make shots. Like, plain and simple. It wasn't a huge 3-point deficit, but Orlando missed a ton of shots. Again, the game was won a little bit at the foul line, but a lot of frustration on reaching and being late and just not a good game. Just frankly, not a good game for the Magic. And again, just some of it was they just blocked some juice. They got down early. They got down on themselves and they couldn't recover. And they're missing so much. It's not that surprising that they're struggling a little bit when things get hard. The good news is we are expecting Paolo Banchero back Friday against the Milwaukee Bucks. So we will see if that comes to pass, and we'll see what that looks like. You know, again, I want to temper expectations for Paolo because first game back, not going to come out playing 38 minutes, scoring 25 points. It's going to be a little bit of a slow process for him. But again, we'll see what that ultimately looks like Friday as the Magic play the Bucks. The Minnesota Timberwolves defeat the Orlando Magic 104-89. Again, the Magic back in action Friday at the Kia Center against the Milwaukee Bucks. But That's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and at Blue Sky at PhilipRR. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them single podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. As if all that's not enough, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, it's been Philip Rossman-Wright. See you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.